Hello and welcome to Diablo Glass School. My name's Dan Batat and I am one of the teachers here in our flame working studio. I'm going to cover in this video proper safety protocol involved in setting up your workstation and in opening and closing the oxygen and gas lines to your torch. It's really easy to forget that our materials here, or our fuel rather, our oxygen and propane, are pretty serious hazards when not dealt with properly. That goes for this entire room, in fact. Our annealing ovens, the glass, the tools that we're using. All of these pieces of equipment can be dangerous if you are not armed with the proper knowledge of how to work them and use them. So we ask that everybody, students, renters, teachers, watch this video and absorb the basic safety protocol primarily involved in setting up and shutting down the gas lines and your workstation. By following basic safety protocol, you can prevent injury to yourself and others, and also guarantee that our equipment will last a little longer. Not following protocol is not only dangerous to yourself, but can result in damaging some of the equipment. For example, the pressure regulators on the oxygen tank and the torch itself. So to ensure your safety, your own comfort in the studio, and our comfort that you know what you're doing and are armed with the proper knowledge to do so, we ask that you watch this short video and fill out a quick questionnaire or test or survey upon watching the video, simply to guarantee that you have absorbed the necessary information from this video. And I'll mention right now that the things we cover today are not simply Diablo Glass School rules. These are not safety agendas that we have. These are universal safety protocols that you have to know in order to be in any shop or tool-related facility. So this really is for your benefit in addition to our comfort, knowing that you're safe in here. So if you are in the flame shop here as a renter, that is not with a class but here on your own to work, you can follow the renter's checklist, which is found on the head of the main working table. That's right here, renter's checklist, and follow the procedures written here. Check in with office and receive invoice and tools. Here is your tool kit and safety glasses, and a Flame Shop studio invoice can be found here on the table next to the renter's checklist. Next, set up workstation. Your workstation includes a fireproof metal sheet, your torch, positioned in the middle of the sheet. That means the fire is in the middle of this fireproof station. Toolkit, glasses, and bowl of water for putting any of your scrap glass into. Be sure that your torch is clamped securely to the table to prevent the torch falling off the table once it's lit. And check that secure fit. When your torch is properly secured to the table, you can go ahead and arrange the rest of your tools. The primary goal here is to get your tools arranged in a way that makes sense for you. Tools should be arranged on your bench in a fairly organized manner, based on your own working habits and where you know that you want them. For example, when I'm working, I always want my graphite plate to the left of my torch, and I keep the rest of my tools on the right-hand side because I know that I use my right hand for my tooling. So I arrange things according to my work habits. Rod rest is over on the corner with my water bowl on the opposite corner. Torch is securely clamped to the table to prevent any accidental injury from the torch falling off the table when lit. Once you have set up your workstation, proceed to turning on the oxygen and propane supply. Follow all safety protocol and printed instruction. That instruction is found on the wall next to the oxygen tanks. Let's go there now. These tall green bottles are our compressed oxygen tanks. They contain one of the two fuels we use in the torch. You'll notice that the bottles are chained to each other and to the wall around the midsection. That is because oxygen, any gas which you're containing in a bottle like this or a tank under pressure, is extremely dangerous when not contained and not properly dealt with. We chain the tanks to each other in the rare event that the valve on the top of the tank pops off and a highly concentrated stream of oxygen is shooting out. In the rare event that this happens, these big green bottles effectively turn into a rocket, powerful enough to blast right through a cinder block wall. That's why we keep them chained together. Looking at the tank, you'll see a few different knobs and a few different gauges. This main knob here on the top of the tank is what we refer to as the main valve, and that is the knob responsible for opening and closing the tank itself. The other knob or dial you have is here. We call this the pressure dial. If you loosen it all the way, it comes directly out of the regulator. That's okay. And that is going to be responsible for setting the pressure in the line. Once there's gas in the line, you can adjust how strongly it's flowing through that line, at what pressure it is flowing. Now we have two gauges on the tank as well. The first of the two, the gauge nearest to the tank, here, is going to tell us how much gas is left in the tank, how much fuel is in the reservoir. While the second gauge here is our pressure indicator. That will tell us at what pressure the gas in the line is at. And if you look closely, you'll see that there's two sets of numbers, red and black. The red numbers are labeled as PSI, and those are the numbers we'll be dealing with. So as we look at the instructions, we see, before proceeding, make sure that both dials at the oxygen tank read 0 and that all red shutoff valves are closed. The red valves should be perpendicular to the gas line, indicating that they are shut. Now those red shutoff valves look like this. There's one valve here, and there is another pair of valves above the main working table, and there will also be another pair of valves at your torch itself. Here are the valves on top of the table, marked as oxygen and propane. And under the table at the torch, you'll see another pair of valves. There's one, there's the other. And as it said on the instructional sheet, when the valve is perpendicular with the line, as it is here, that means that the valve is shut. In the open position, the red valve will be in line with the pipe or parallel with the pipe, indicating openness. Open, shut. So the first thing you want to do is double check that all valves are shut before allowing any gas into the line. This prevents gas from flowing to the torch before you're ready to do so. The valves are shut, as we just saw, and also both gauges read 0. That indicates that the tank was properly shut down by the last user of the studio. Also check that the pressure dial on the oxygen regulator is unengaged or loosened. Do this by turning the dial counterclockwise until it wiggles slightly. Remember, our pressure dial here is our gold or brass valve, which dials into the right clockwise, dials out to the left or counterclockwise. If you drop the dial, don't worry about it. Simply pick it up, put it back into the threaded hole, and tighten it in until it will not fall again. You can see here that the pressure dial wiggles slightly, indicating that it is unengaged. As I screw it in further, it loses that ability to wiggle. I can feel that it is more tightly secured in there. So, I dial it out by turning counterclockwise until it wiggles slightly. If you open the oxygen tank with the pressure engaged, you risk seriously damaging the regulator. When gas flows into a pressurized line at a high speed, as it will when we open the tank, you are stressing the regulator out more than it is designed to handle, and you risk damaging it. In addition to that, you risk injuring yourself, because if the regulator is to fail, these plastic covers here on the gauges are liable to come popping off of the tank. They're going to explode off the tank. In fact, this regulator could quite possibly explode into 5 to 10 pieces, which would be a very bad scene. So before opening the tank, make sure your pressure is unengaged. While looking away from the regulator, crack open the main valve on the tank. Again, this is the main valve. And again, we look away from the tank when you crack that gauge, just in case that regulator is going to blow, as I mentioned before. You can guarantee that the pressure is unengaged, but you cannot guarantee that the person before you to use the studio did not damage it in some way. So take all precautions, look away, and crack the tank. Simply turn the main valve a quarter of a turn, and then you can look back and see that the first gauge there has shot up. Our pressure indicator is still at 0, but now we know that there is roughly 400 psi in the tank. Proceed to open the tank until the main valve stops closing. You must open the valve all the way. Continue to open the valve all the way. Now, turn the pressure dial clockwise until the pressure reads 25 for Boro or 18 for Moretti. And again, that's PSI. So, as we dial the pressure in, you're going to see that gauge start to shoot up. We'll go to 25 for Boro. Open the red shut-off valves in this order. At this point, our tank is open and pressure is set. So we're ready to open the rest of the line and allow that oxygen to reach the torch. Gas is now flowing to this point in the line. We'll open this shut-off valve and allow the oxygen to continue through the line and down towards the torch. At this point, I'll also go ahead and open up the main propane valve. The propane we use comes straight from the street lines, and we do not use an external regulator or tank for our propane, so there's no need to adjust the pressure as we do with the oxygen. Simply opening the line is sufficient. Again, at the torch, turn the red shut-off valves so they are parallel with the pipe, indicating an open position. Gas is now flowing to the torch, and I'm ready to work.